Yuki Tsunoda's seat for 2026 is under a great question mark, and with performances like his, it's only natural for the phone media to talk about a potential replacement. The name of Arvid Lindblad has been mentioned a lot more often. And with Hadjar and Lawson's stellar performances in Racing Bulls, could Tsunoda see himself out of Red Bull's family in 2026? And even more importantly, is it now a bit too late to find a suitable team which would force him to sit out at least one season? There is no doubt that Yuki Tsunoda's position in Red Bull has been very volatile. From a driver who was poised to be the perfect number 2 driver after Perez to one that was able to score just 7 points in 12 races. Tsunoda's back is now pushed against the wall. To make matters worse, Isack Hadjar is having an amazing season with Racing Bulls, despite going on a 5-race drought and not scoring points since Spain, while Lawson rediscovered his own form and is just 2 points behind his teammate. The numbers speak very loudly. Hadjar has 22 points, Lawson is behind with 20, while Tsunoda only has 10. And the last one drives for the senior team. So there must be something fundamentally wrong with his approach to the car. I would fully blame the RB21 because of how deteriorating Perez's performance became before he got sacked. But Tsunoda claimed, "I can tame the car." However, when it came to the real spotlight and when he had to put the money where his mouth was, a lot of things went wrong. The Imola crash took a big chunk of his already low confidence in the car. And even when he was as close as ever to Max over 1 lap in Budapest, it was still not enough to enter Q3. So what does the future hold for him? According to the current Red Bull team principal, Laurent Mekies, the goal is still the same: give Tsunoda enough time to adapt to the end of this season. But these words have been narrated very precisely. I don't think Tsunoda will get another chance in 2026 if he doesn't improve drastically in the remainder of this campaign. And when talking about that second seat that is costing Red Bull millions of dollars in prize money in the Constructors' Championship, Meki said the priority is to give Yuki what he needs to perform. That is where, with regard to the second seat, the priority is. It is what the team is concentrated on. They have been trying that for a number of races now. We are trying to find ways together to make a further step. Spa was very positive, certainly from that perspective. In Hungary, it was a bit of a tricky weekend overall, so it is probably a bit more difficult to judge. But there is no reason why Yuki's performance cannot be what we have seen in the past. We do need to be a bit objective here. A big chunk of the problem is the car. I don't think Red Bull's approach is quite the best one because the technical development of the car has been rather questionable. Even Max said it himself. Changing drivers so often and hoping that they would suddenly click with the nature of the RB21 without actually working on proper solutions is not really the best way of setting the priorities straight. However, that's up to them to solve. Their approach has brought us to this reality. Tsunoda's phone seat is in danger, and the Japanese driver needs to be aware that a scenario in which he is without a seat in 2026 is quite a realistic one. If Red Bull decides to replace him, one thing is for sure: he won't have a seat in Racing Bulls. He's been there for 5 years, and the team stated their wishes. We want young drivers. Yuki is young, but he is not Arvid Lindblad young. The current F2 star is eagerly waiting for a change in Red Bull's family so that he can step up and show what he's made of. So, regardless of who Red Bull chooses as Yuki's replacement, there is one big question that needs to be answered, and we won't get the answer before we see the actual performance. Is this seat actually a promotion? We've seen Lawson rediscover his form after just 2 races with Red Bull. But according to Lawson, there is still a lot of work to be done before he can be considered a Red Bull driver next to Verstappen. Still, one thing that he's shown is resilience. Many have written him off the grid, saying that he doesn't have what it takes to be a phone driver, but he went on to finish P6 in Austria and P8 in Spa and Hungary. Lawson finished in the points in 3 of the last 5 races. And you can easily understand that the momentum carried in the second half of the season is on his side. This is a factor that would definitely make Mekies think as to whether or not a rehiring is a possibility for the Kiwi driver. Elaborating further on his chances of making his way back to Red Bull, Lawson said, "Honestly, in terms of my future, it's been so busy this year that I am not really thinking about it right now. I am focused on having some good races. Obviously, we've had some strong performances recently, but 3 of them isn't enough over 12 races or however many it's been. So we need to do more of this, and then we'll see." Then again, what's next for Tsunoda? If Arvid Lindblad is promoted to Racing Bulls, 3 doesn't fit into 2, and one of the current drivers would have to be promoted to Red Bull. It would imply that Tsunoda will be without a seat, something that Marco warned is a high possibility, as they are looking at everything they can right now. The connections with Honda are definitely an ace in the sleeve that Tsunoda is betting on, now that the Japanese engine manufacturer has an exclusive contract with Aston Martin, and the driver lineup there is rather questionable as well. Alonso is nearing retirement, while the nepotism between Lawrence and his son Lance will always be debated in the phone world. But the Silverstone-based squad confirm their lineup for 2026, and if Tsunoda aims to get a seat here, it would most likely be beyond 2026. So technically, if this is what he wants to do, he would have to sit out a year, but not if Cadillac decides to stir the pot and choose Yuki as their young driver next to a veteran. However, the general belief is that the American team will go with an old and reliable approach, signing both Bottas and Perez. So that door could also be shut for Yuki. Be that as it may, he is in a very difficult position, and the only thing he needs to do right now is perform the same way that Lawson did in the last couple of races. With all this in mind, do you think that Yuki's future in Red Bull is done and dusted? And if so, who do you think would be his replacement? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.